sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
All right, so we're diving into the 97th Academy Awards. Seems like everyone's been talking about it. You guys sent in a ton of articles. And wow, this year's ceremony, it really did have everything. Big wins, a few snubs, I mean. And, you know, having those LA wildfires happening right before that, it's going to add another layer to it all, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Thinking about the fires, it it makes you wonder how it affected the whole feel of the night.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we're going off of Danica Pineda's article, The 97th Academy Awards, complete list of 2025 winners. It's from NPR, came out March 2nd, 2025. I'm ready to dig in, see what we find, you know?
Sounds good.
And just a heads up, there's some seriously interesting stuff here. A Brazilian film winning Best International Film, Zoe Saldana getting an Oscar for Emilia Pérez.
Oh, yeah. I've heard a lot about Emilia Pérez.
Me too. Looks like it pretty much swept the awards, right?
Yeah, it did.
Best Supporting Actress for Zoe Saldana, Best Original Song for El Mal. It was also nominated for Cinematography, Sound, Adapted Screenplay.
It's interesting, actually. Emilia Pérez got 2 nominations for Best Original Song.
2. That's not something you see every day.
Right. Makes you think about how important the music must have been. Like maybe the Academy saw those songs as not just, add-ons, but really part of the story itself.
Yeah, I get what you mean. And speaking of big winners, Dune, Part 2. No surprise there. It cleaned up in those technical categories.
Yeah, visual effects.
Sound.
Makes sense. Those sandworms, I bet they looked incredible on the big screen.
Oh, they definitely did. I read somewhere that to make those sandworms, the effects team, they studied how actual sand dunes move,
Wow.
Trying to make them totally real looking. Shows you just how advanced visual effects have gotten. And
right.
I mean, the Academy obviously noticed that.
Totally. Now, switching gears a bit, I'm Still Here. It won for Best International Feature Film. Heard it's a powerful story about a family dealing with a dictatorship in Brazil.
It is, yeah. And it kind of fits into a bigger trend we're seeing this year. Films tackling tough political and social issues,
Like I'm Still Here. It gives us a look into something that, a lot of people probably don't know much about. And it's good to see the Academy supporting that kind of diverse storytelling.
Absolutely. And we can't forget No Other Land, the documentary. It was made by both Palestinian and Israeli filmmakers, and it actually won an award.
Yeah. No Other Land. It's like a perfect example of how film can bring people together. Filmmakers from such different backgrounds coming together to tell this story. That's pretty powerful,
Yeah.
Like even with all the conflict, art can be a way to talk and understand each other.
It's really inspiring. So we've seen some big wins, but then there's The Brutalist. It got nominated in a bunch of categories, but it only won for cinematography. What do you think happened there?
Tough to say, really. Maybe The Brutalist, even though it looked amazing. Maybe it didn't grab voters in other areas like the story or the acting,
Yeah.
Or maybe the competition was just super strong this year.
Yeah, that's always possible. And then there's Wicked. It won for production and costume design, but it missed out on some of the bigger awards.
Yeah, Wicked. Do you think maybe the hype was just too big?
Could be. It's already a huge hit as a musical, so.
Right. With that many fans already, it's got to be hard to live up to those expectations.
Definitely. It makes you think about how what people already know about a story, how that affects how the Academy sees it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so let's move on to individual performances. Zoe Saldana winning Best Supporting Actress. That was a big moment.
Yeah, she's amazing. And her role in Emilia Pérez, it seems like it let her show a different side of her talent. I'd love to hear more about her performance. What made it stand out to the voters,
Me too. And then there's Kieran Culkin. He won Best Supporting Actor for A Real Pain. First Oscar win for him, right?
Yeah, first one.
I think it shows how certain roles can really change an actor's career. From what I've heard, Culkin's performance in A Real Pain was really subtle and complex, which probably caught the Academy's attention. And then we have Jeremy Strong. He was nominated for The Apprentice.
Right, Jeremy Strong.
He's known for his method acting, so I can only imagine how intense he must have been in this role.
Oh, yeah. His dedication is incredible.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, method acting is like, it's really getting into the character's head, sometimes for months before they even start filming. It's a tough technique.
Yeah, it sounds intense.
I'm curious to see how the Academy responded to Strong's approach.
Me too. Talking about intense, we got to mention the award for makeup and hairstyling. It went to The Substance, which it's a body horror film, so I'm guessing the makeup and hair were pretty wild.
Oh, definitely. For body horror, that stuff is so important. It's what makes those visuals so, well, unsettling.
Yeah,
Kind of crazy how those artists can make you feel grossed out and fascinated at the same time, right?
totally. So, moving on to the writing awards. Conclave won Best Adapted Screenplay. It's all about papal politics.
Papal politics, huh?
Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
Right.
Shows you how even a place like the Vatican, might seem kind of limited, but it can still make for a really compelling story. Those themes in conclave, power, ambition, faith, they're universal,
Definitely. And then for Best Original Screenplay, we have Honora. It's about this exotic dancer who marries into a Russian oligarch family.
Well, that's sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Right.
Makes you wonder if the writer based it on real life or if they're just,
Hmm.
playing with those ideas of absurdity and satire.
Interesting. Either way, it sounds like a wild ride. Now, Wicked didn't win everything, but it did snag a win for costume design. And with those iconic outfits from the musical, I mean, it kind of had to win, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, the costume designer had so much to work with. They definitely took advantage of that. Those costumes probably made it feel like you were actually in Oz.
Totally. All right, let's jump to the short films now. Best live action short went to I'm Not a Robot. That title alone, I gotta know what it's about.
Right. Short films are great for telling these unique stories, but in a really short amount of time, they're like hidden gems, often with totally fresh perspectives. Really creative storytelling.
Yeah, I agree. And for Best Animated Feature, Flow took home the award. It's about a cat trying to escape a flood. Sounds pretty heartwarming.
Ah, that's cute. But, it also makes you think about those themes of survival and resilience.
Yeah.
Animation is so good at tackling those complex issues, but in a way that everyone can enjoy.
For sure. And then there's In the Shadow of the Cypress. It won for Best Animated Short Film. I'm always amazed by how much emotion animators can pack into such a short time.
It's really incredible. Sometimes those images and the music, they can just hit you harder than words ever could. Those animators, they really know how to tell a story.
Yeah, they do. We talked about No Other Land winning for Best Documentary Feature earlier, but I think it's worth bringing up again. Palestinian and Israeli filmmakers working together, that's a big deal.
It really is.
It shows how cinema can help people understand each other.
Yeah, like even when there's conflict, there's always that human connection underneath it all. And No Other Land seems to capture that perfectly.
It's a beautiful message. And for Best Documentary Short, The Only Girl in the Orchestra won. Just the title, it makes you think about breaking barriers,
Yeah, I wonder if it's about the challenges of being a woman in a field that's usually dominated by men. Maybe it looks at how music can, how it can go beyond those societal norms,
Right. So we've gone through a lot of films and categories, but did you notice any overall trends this year?
Well, one thing that stands out is how many films are dealing with these really complex social and political issues. Okay. You have I'm Still Here showing life under a dictatorship, and then No Other Land trying to bridge those cultural divides.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a real focus on giving a voice to, stories that might not get heard otherwise.
That's a great point. It feels like there's a shift happening, towards more diverse perspectives, more challenging the status quo.
Exactly, and I think it's a good thing.
Definitely. Oh, and I almost forgot. The 688 and their song The Journey, they won for Best Original Song.
Oh, yeah. The 6888.
It's about the only all-black, all-female battalion that served in World War II.
Right, a story that, a lot of people probably haven't heard before.
Exactly. And their song, The Journey, it really captures their strength and resilience, It's a reminder that there are so many stories out there, stories that haven't been told, and it's our job to find them and give them the attention they deserve.
Couldn't agree more. It reminds us that every voice matters.
Yeah.
And every story have the power to teach us something, to inspire us.
Absolutely.
Now, we've talked about a lot tonight, but we want to hear from you, our listeners. What really stood out to you from all these awards?
Was there a film that you just couldn't stop thinking about, or a performance that blew you away? What about a category that got you debating with your friends?
It makes you think. What do all these winners tell us about where cinema is headed? And what kind of stories are resonating with people right now?
So much to consider.
Do you think we'll see even more diverse storytelling in the future? Or maybe more groundbreaking visual effects? Or could we see a return to those simpler stories? The ones that focus on characters and emotions?
It's amazing to think about how these awards, they don't just show what's happening in film, but also in our culture, right?
Yeah, definitely.
We saw how much people love the technical stuff in Dune, part two, but also there was this real appreciation for stories that challenge us, that show us experiences we might not know about.
Right. It's like people want to see those amazing visuals, but they also want something real, something to think about, something that makes them feel something that connects them to what's happening in the world.
Yeah, I get that. It feels like there's this hunger for authenticity and representation, both on screen and behind the camera.
Absolutely.
More diverse voices making movies, and that leads to more diverse stories being told.
Exactly. And it's not just about, checking boxes. It's about different viewpoints, different ways of seeing things.
Right.
When we open ourselves up to those different stories, we learn more about what it means to be human.
I love that. And the 688, their story and that song, they really show us this, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
A story that was hidden for so long, and now it's being celebrated.
It makes you realize there's so many stories out there that we haven't even heard yet.
Right, and it's up to us to find them, to make sure those voices get heard.
Exactly. It's like there's always something new to discover,
Yeah, and when it comes to cinema, that journey of discovery never really ends.
You got that right.
So as you keep watching movies, keep your eyes open for those hidden gems, those stories that challenge you, that show you something new.
Yeah, don't forget, every film is a chance to start a conversation. So talk about them, share your thoughts, really dive into what those films are trying to say.
I couldn't have said it better myself. So that wraps up our deep dive into the 97th Academy Awards. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope it inspires you to keep exploring the amazing world of film.
Keep watching, keep learning.
And until next time,
see you then.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall.